Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Friday the 20th of April 2018. I'm Darren Sinden, and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @ds_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. Just a couple of points to flag here. First of all, the sterling bubble has slightly deflated. If you look at the cable rate here, back to 140 is the big handle. Having tested up well above 143 over the last week, the data coming out of the UK basically dampening down thoughts of further rate rises beyond a possible rate rise in May by the Bank of England. A similar story in New Zealand as well. The Kiwi coming back by 0.42% on comments that the Reserve Bank of New Zealand made over inflation, interest rates and the likelihood of early rate rises there. For the Japanese yen against the US dollar, we've seen the yen give ground, trading at around 107.62 shortly before we recorded the video, suggesting to me anyway that the mood of the markets remains risk on. And for its part, the US dollar, as expressed by dollar index, is testing back towards that 90 level. Shortly before we recorded the video, it was trading at 89.96. Right, let's move on. What's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets today. Quite an interesting calendar today, and headlined by two key meetings. First of all, OPEC are meeting in Saudi Arabia. We'll look at that meeting in more detail later in the video. And secondly, we have a meeting of the IMF ongoing today as well. In terms of data and other events, at 9:30 we'll kick off with a speech by the UK Bank of England MPC member Saunders, and then at 11:30 the German Bundesbank President Jens Wiedmann will also be speaking. In terms of data releases, it's mostly focused on Canada today, with Canadian retail sales month on month for Feb out at 12:30, accompanied by the key consumer price index data for Canada, core and broad measures there, and the Bank of Canada's own inflation data being released as well. That's of great importance, really, given the Bank of Canada's standoffish stance, can I call it, on interest rate raises at the moment. Then at 15:15 we'll have the third of our central bank speakers today, the FOMC member Esther Williams will be speaking then. And at 1700 the Baker Hughes oil recount, a weekly release, but obviously that will take on perhaps a bit more importance today, given that we have this OPEC meeting in Saudi Arabia. Right, breaking news and comment then that's caught my eye overnight. First of all, Japanese core inflation heads lower for the first time in a year. This is the first move down since the country exited deflation in March 2017. Recent data from Japan has not been that positive in my opinion, so I'm going to be keeping a close eye on events here going forward. As we've said, OPEC and interestingly non-OPEC ministers are gathering in Saudi Arabia for the OPEC spring meeting. Analysts have suggested ahead of the meeting that the global glut in oil supplies has almost been eradicated. Meanwhile, Apple's supplier Taiwan Semiconductor shares fall to a 4-month low on what it described as weaker smartphone demand, and that helped to lead Asian indices lower. Be interesting to see how this plays out in the S&P and the US 100 index later today. Right then, food for thought, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Why not think about this? As oil ministers gather in Saudi Arabia, it's been suggested that an oversupply in crude has largely been erased. But OPEC may well try to push prices higher now as a result. But what's happening on the demand side of the equation? For instance, the JP Morgan Global Composite PMI Index suggests that economic growth is slowing down sharply even as oil prices rally. And we can see that in the chart opposite. The blue line is the JP Morgan Global Composite PMI, and the dashed line the price of Brent crude, and the sharp downturn here in the global PMI is a sign of economic activity, or a measure of economic activity, and here the Brent crude price spiking up above 70. Right, thank you for your time today. Please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of these products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative. Have a great day and a great weekend.